Hello, welcome back to English Gym. In tutorial A, we did some brain waking up exercises and we looked at the sentence. This is tutorial B. Here I've called it brain box. Previously I've called it back to the basics. And here we're starting to get into some grammar. It's a bit of a slog, so put on your thinking caps and let's concentrate. We're looking mainly at verbs in this sentence, but we're starting off with phrases and clauses. So please remember, a sentence communicates a complete thought. Words like from morning to night do not express a complete thought. We call such groups of words phrases rather than sentences. Phrases do not stand alone, but they're part of a sentence. Once again, a phrase is a fragment. It can't stand alone. So these words here in capital letters are phrases. The shop around the corner is open around the corner. It doesn't make sense on its own. It's a phrase. With the red dress. Everyone in the room. What about them? Full of happiness at 7 o'clock. In the theater, there's the American spelling. From time to time, I'll go back and I'll give you the British spelling. And then swap it around back to American, so we're catering for everyone here. So the easy way to spot the phrases is to see here if they don't have a full stop or a period. This one has a period, a full stop. Why? Because it's got a subject we, it's got a verb reached. We reached the beach at last. It makes sense on its own. So this one is a sentence. Which others have periods or full stops? This one. Here's someone doing something. It's Zeus. What did he do? He threw his lightning bolt. It makes complete sense on its own. This one makes sense on its own. Someone did something. He led them. It's a sentence. This one. You are something, you are so kind, it makes sense on its own, it's a sentence. The others are phrases. Walking to the city, what? Who's walking to the city? As far as Mary's house, what? Doesn't make sense on its own. This one would have made sense if we'd said the birds twitter down in the Sweet Valley, but this is implying something else is happening in that valley. Down in the Sweet Valley where the birds twitter, something happened, but we're not told what it is or what is there. So that's a phrase. Once again, see if you can spot the phrases. Let's look for the periods, or in this case, a question mark. Did you enjoy your holiday? It's a question. Did you do something? Yes, you did. It's a sentence. That's the only one. The rest don't make sense on their own. Up and down the stairs. What? Down to the ground. Who put on her jacket? Who was playing tennis at the club? If you decide to go, then what? What happened one evening in September? This one makes sense on its own. There was a dog. What did he do? He ran. This one's a question. It makes sense. Will you do something for me? Yes, please. I'll come up to your house as you've asked. The others do not make sense on their own. Into the pool, what? What's in the very heart of America? What happened before the moon had come up? What happened from early in the morning? They don't make sense on their own. Looking at clauses now, the only difference is, look, phrases and clauses are groups of words that function as a noun, adjective, adverb. The only difference is a clause contains a verb. So a main clause makes sense on its own. The truck stopped makes sense on its own. The rest of it is telling us when the truck stopped. This is what we call a subordinate or less important clause. It's got a verb, was playing, but it doesn't make sense on its own. This is the main clause here. We ate ice cream. When did we eat ice cream? While the song was playing. So it looks like a phrase, but it has that verb, was playing, so it's a clause. This one's asking us to arrange the sentences in the correct order. So Mr. Smith did something. I guess our verb here is going to be designed. So what did he do? He designed something. Houses, yes, but what kind of houses? Wonderful houses. So we're going to put that in. There's our full stop. Mr. Smith designed wonderful houses. Spain for food eels are used in. So I think this is going to start off in Spain. Something happened in Spain, or something happens in Spain. And it's about certain foodstuffs in Spain. Let's put a comma here. And what are the unusual foods we're talking about here? It's eels, sea snakes. In Spain, eels are used for food. So I'm going to just move for food to the end. And this one, it's surely about the lion. So let's move the lion here. And what did he do? Or what does he do? He scratches his back. Here they're not calling him his, they're calling him its. Scratches its back. Oops. Scratches its back with its claws. Subject and predicate, 2 parts of the sentence. Every sentence consists of 2 parts. The part that names what we are talking about, the subject, and the part that tells us something about the subject, the predicate. So here we'll see what's in red is the subject, rain, dogs, the sun, children, the purple moon, the old man, the small bird. Everything else in the sentence is the predicate. What does rain do? It falls. What does the purple moon do? It glittered in the sky. So the verb is part of the predicate. This one's asking us to add a suitable predicate. I'm not going to type them in because there's so many possible answers. A crowd of excited students, what did they do? A crowd of excited students surged into the square. A crowd of excited students began singing the national anthem. What did the children's faces do? The children's faces glowed with happiness. A happy cat. A happy cat is a cat who's just had its meal. A happy cat purrs. An old suitcase sits in the corner of the room. The light of the moon glowed on her face. The light of the moon glittered on the water. A feeling of peace suffused the tranquil scene. The sound of music echoed into my ears. The architect's pencils waited on the desk. We've just added predicates to subjects. This one's asking us to add a subject. It could be anything. Where possible, I'm going to put people's names. But here I'm going to say 3 girls were playing in the pool. Michelle danced with the mayor. Who vanished into the shadows? Vera vanished into the shadows. Who trudged towards the tax office? Timothy. Excuse that noise. Timothy trudged towards the tax office. Who held out an invitation? Harry. Who was sleeping on the feather pillows? 3 cats. Who sat by the door? Sally. Who ran towards the exit? Rodney. So we've looked at subjects and predicates. The rest of this tutorial is going to be about verbs. So a verb may tell us that the subject does something. She wondered whether it would rain. Or words like is and had and were are also verbs. They tell us that someone is something or seems something or becomes something. The sun is hot. Is the verb. You look happy. Look is the verb. I had a great phone. Had is the verb. Verbs express action or a state of being. So many verbs in the world, and verbs tell us the actions of what's going on in the world and how things are. Verbs express action or a state of being. Sometimes verbs consist of more than one word. I don't usually use this term, a verb phrase. I just think of have dived as a verb. But that verb is made up of a main verb, dived, and what they call a helping verb or an auxiliary verb, have. But the entire verb here, have dived. I have been dancing, that's the verb. They will have been walking, that's wrong because surely will is also part of the verb. They will have been walking for 2 hours. Am reading. Should have been listening. Verbs can be more than one word. Let's see if we can find the verbs. What did their eyes do? They fluttered. What did the wave do? It broke. What did the silver highway do? It led somewhere. What did the happy students do? They celebrated. What did the voice do? It whispered. What did the tennis player do? He or she waved. What did the smell of curry do? It lingered, it stuck around. And what did we do? We worried. Those are the verbs. Here's a few more verbs to find. The competition was held. That's one of those is and was. And the new mirrors have arrived. That's the verb. They are listening. That's the verb. If you see is or was or were, that's the verb. What does she do? She dances. What does he do? He walks. You see is or was, you know that's the verb. What does it do? It stands. What does the teacher do? The teacher is walking. The dancer has been teaching. What shall I be doing? I shall be swimming. I had been eating is the verb. Rewrite as verbs, turn into verbs. To make something diverse is to diversify. To tell the meaning of a word, the word denotes something. To make an interpretation is to interpret. To build knowledge is to know, or to have knowledge is to know. To create health, we're going to heal ourselves or heal others. To commit to memory is to memorize. Let's put the American version with a Z. Yeah, we'll put the British version. To put on television, televise in British, it's an S. To agree on something. To create a song is to sing. Finite verbs. A finite verb, a verb with a subject, is normally the minimum grammatical requirement of a standard English sentence. The subject of a finite verb, and thus the subject of the clause or sentence, is the agent or source of the action denoted by the verb. A subject can be a noun, such as authors. What do? They write. Could be a noun phrase, who writes? Some modern authors do. Could be a pronoun, they write. When the verb expresses a command, the subject can be implied. If I say to write, there's an implied subject, you should write. Verb tenses. Present tense, I walk, you walk, he walks. Past tense, I walked, you walked, he walked. Yesterday I walked. Future tense, I will walk. I'm going to change this to shall walk. I shall walk, you will walk, he will walk. More tenses. I have finished walking. I had finished walking. I will have finished walking. I have lived in China for 4 years. Correct the tense. I was not able to decide on the correct price. I am not able to decide on the correct price. The sun does what? The sun rises behind the hill. What does she do to the waves? She gazes at them. In the past, people lived in caves. When she came to visit, what did I do? I slept in the lounge. Before he became famous, he worked as a humble cleaner. And they cut my grass and not waters my plants, but watered my plants. He was late, therefore what did he do? He hurried to work. You could say he rang the church bell every day, or you could say he rings the church bell every day. This is an is, so it's present tense, so Bill shouts when he is angry. The patriot felt better after the meeting. Last month, I did it all by myself. Here we're working on the tense of the verbs. Here we're completing the verb. What's the verb that the clue tells us? To put into action is to activate. To change upwards or downwards, the price went up and down. It fluctuated. To reach the highest point, the meeting culminated in the singing of the national anthem. To explain or give further details is to elaborate. Verbs have mood. I don't even use this word, the indicative or factual mood. To me, this is straight verbs. He studies, she has. The imperative mood is a command. Go to bed. Call Anne. This sounds so difficult, subjunctive mood, but that's expressing something that's not true. If I were a millionaire, I'd buy you a small sports car. Past tense and past participle. Begin, began, begun. Right? Past tense. Wrote. And I have written. Bite. Today I bite. Yesterday I bit. And I have done what? I have bitten. Today I choose. Yesterday I chose. And I have chosen. Today I freeze. Yesterday I froze. And I have frozen. Today I know. Yesterday I knew. I have known. Today I see. Yesterday I saw. and I have seen. Today I swim, yesterday I swam, and I have swum. Today I weave, yesterday I wove, and I have woven. Finding the verbs again. What did she do? She typed. What does Sam do? He loves. What does she do? She tidies. What does he do? He plays. You see, is or was or were, it's a verb. What do we do? We keep. What do we do? We read. Finding the verbs again. Refreshments were served. The light enveloped the star. The dew froze in the night. What does the bird do? It sings. What did Dom do? Dom wanted something. What did the priest do? He or she hurried. What did she do? She threw something. Still finding the verbs. She will plant. Is admired. Held. Is or was. Read. Was reading. Those are the verbs. I'm not going to type these in because there's many possible answers. Little feet pattered along the passage. The waves broke on the coral reef or lapped on the coral reef. The crew abandoned the sinking ship. The car sputtered to a standstill. The rusty door creaked open. The student lounged on the beach. The correct tense of the verb. After he had bitten the fruit, he discovered it was ripe. Yesterday he wore his yellow shirt. Chan was tired, so she sat down for a rest. Tom did what? He fed his cat. Percy named his dog. Verb tenses. I'm not going to read these difficult names. I'm just going to read the tenses, and if this is new to you, if you're learning the language from scratch, read them with me. I write, he writes. I wrote, he wrote. I shall write, he will write. Let's change that to will. I am writing, he is writing. I was writing, he was writing. I shall be writing, he shall be writing. I have written, he has written. I had written, he had written. I have been writing, he has been writing. I shall write, he will write. I shall be writing, he will be writing. I shall have written, he will have written. I shall have been writing, he will have been writing. So these are verb tenses. I write the next chapter tonight, meaning I will write it tonight. I am writing it tonight means I'm going to be writing it tonight. I'm going to write it tonight, or the command, write the next chapter tonight. So they're quite tricky, these verb tenses. I hope that helps you a bit if this is new to you. Active and passive voice. If a sentence starts with a person who is doing the something, as in Mom was reading, it's active voice. If you start with a newspaper and say that it was being read, if something is being done to something and you start with a thing that's being done to, that's passive voice. So to rewrite them, we find the verb here, its effects, and then we know we have to start the sentence with everyone. Everyone is affected by global warming. Now it's in passive voice. Everyone is affected by global warming. We find the verb shook. We start our passive voice with what was being shook. The tent was shaken by the strong wind. The tent was shaken by the strong wind. We find the verb caught. We start our passive voice with what comes after caught. The ball was caught by the girl. The parents filled in the survey. Filled in is the verb because not the servant. The survey was filled in by the parents. The survey was filled in by the parents. Sally loves New York. The verb is loved. Loves. So we start with New York is loved by Sally. The crew landed the boat. The verb is landed. So the boat was landed by the crew. What did they do? They spread the news. So the news was spread all over the city by them. The news was spread all over the city. Spread by them all over the city, or spread all over the city by them. Regular verbs are the ones that are easy. Add, added, adding. Love, loved, loving. Zip, zip, zipping, zipped. They all follow the same pattern. But we also have, to make things difficult, we've got irregular verbs in English that do their own thing and don't follow the pattern. There's lots of them. And I guess if this is new to you, if you're not a home language speaker, you have to learn them. So these are just some of the irregular verbs. I think, I thought. I drink, I drank, I have drunk. I drive, I drove, I have driven. I swim, I swam, I have swum. I begin, I began, I have begun. I build, I built. I catch, I caught. I draw, I drew, I have drawn. I fly, I flew, I have flown. I forget, I forgot. I freeze, I froze, I have frozen. I grow, I grew, I have grown. I kneel, I knelt. I lie, I lay, I have lain. I outdo, I outdid, I have outdone. I pay, I paid. I seek, I sought. I shake, I shook, I have shaken. I shrink, I shrank, I have shrunk. I sing, I sang, I have sung. Difficult. I sink, I sank, I have sunk. I sleep, I slept. I speak, I spoke, I have spoken. I spit, I spat. I spread. I spread, I have spread. I steal, I stole, I have stolen. I sting, I stung. I swell, I swelled, I have swollen. I swim, I swam, I have swum. I teach, I taught, I write, I wrote, I have written. Heavy going. We're approaching the end. Some words starting with B. To charm or enchant someone, often in a deceptive way. Which of these words is it? To charm or enchant someone. And the answer is to beguile. She beguiled him with her feminine wiles. A scene of uproar and confusion. It was a scene of I believe this is named after a lunatic asylum in England. It was complete bedlam or confusion. Perfect happiness or great joy. It was bliss. It was so blissful, those 2 weeks in the forest. A detailed description of a person's life, a biography. If they write it themselves, it's an autobiography. And then that piece of writing on the back of a book that tells you what the book's about is the blurb. The blurb. The state of having experienced the loss of a loved one, bereavement. The bereaved husband said goodbye to his wife. Relating to or affecting cattle. Feline relates to cats. Canine relates to dogs. Bovine relates to cattle. Unimpressed with or indifferent to something, because one has experienced or seen it so often before. She was quite blasé. After having been to Europe so many times, she was very blasé about it. Socially unconventional in an artistic way, a word meaning artsy-fartsy. She looked very bohemian wearing that scarf. And this one should really say the Roman god of wine, because the Greek god of wine is Dionysos or Dionysus. The Roman god of wine is Bacchus. Some more B words. I think some people say banal. I seem to think of this word as having an E, but I guess I wouldn't have put it like this if I was right. So lacking in originality so as to be obvious and boring. That's so banal, that's so ordinary. Over-concerned with procedure. They're too worried about forms and procedures. They're so bureaucratic. And this is a nice word, kind and with positive intentions. I know a charitable institution called the Benevolent Home. But a benevolent person is kind. Last time in our writing, we did a brainstorm. This time I'm suggesting that once you've done the brainstorm, you go through it and select ideas. Which ideas can you use for the beginning of your piece of writing? Which ideas can you use for paragraph 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Which ideas can you use at the end of your piece of writing? But let's speak about the very first paragraph. I'm suggesting if it's a narrative essay, if it's telling a story, telling something about your life, I'm suggesting maybe think of in the first paragraph, not starting the story already or the narrative, but paint a picture of the setting. Let us see where you are. Let's hear the rustle of leaves. Let's hear the distant call of a bird. It'll make us feel grounded in a particular scene. If you're in a market, let's smell the sharp tang of spices in the air. What details can you use to build a picture? Be specific. Don't tell us it's old or beautiful, but let's see the peeling paint on the walls. Let's hear the creak of the floorboards. Be specific. Don't tell us it's beautiful, but let's see the cascade of orange and pink streaks across the sky. Use details. So our topics for this time, either a journal, piece of journal writing, write whatever comes to mind, don't censor or stop, or if you want to do something more planned, what makes me happy, what makes me feel alive, an incident in your childhood that has had a profound impact on your life. Adults just don't understand young people. A teacher who is really stimulating or effective in his methods or her methods. Or you can be inspired by that picture to write something. So it's either the journal, what makes me happy, what makes me alive, an incident in your childhood. Adults don't understand young people, an effective teacher, or that picture. And we're nearly done for this time. Quick little vocabulary exercise. The highest point of his career was the pinnacle of his career. The voice between tenor and bass, baritone. A general pardoning of prisoners. An amnesty. An amnesty. Describes that which is pleasant to the taste, something that is palatable. Please excuse the noise. The science of reasoning with an L, logic, and used of a liquid that has salt in it, saline. So that was tutorial B. Hope you're going to come back for tutorial C, more about original writing in that one, and continuing with the grammar as well. Hope to see you again. Until then, have a lovely day.